Welcome to another episode of Greater Bridgewater. I'm your host, Miles Heeger, and joined in this episode by one of our final guests here for our candidate conversations. We are joined by a gentleman running for Congress here in the 9th District, VernonHarrison. Vernon, welcome.
Glad to be here, Miles. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Now, first off, Vernon, you are a political newcomer of sorts. Who are you and why are you running for Congress?
I don't think I'm a political newcomer of sorts. I think I'm a newcomer to politically, period. I'm VernonHarrison. I'm a resident of Braintree for the better part of the last 40 years. Father of 5. I have 2 adult children, 3 more at home. Grandfather of 2. Married to the lovely and beautiful Michelle Coble Harrison. I graduated from Brockton High in 1974. I have a technical degree in electronics, and today besides being a candidate for the 9th Congressional District, I am the Chief Technologist for a company called Unitive.
Very interesting. Now, why are you running for Congress?
I'm running for Congress for the same reasons a lot of folks' hair is standing up on the back of their head. I am very disappointed in the way the country is going, and I'm no longer apathetic thinking that there's nothing that we can do about it anymore. I think a lot of voters out there understand that we're not going to take it anymore, and I'm frustrated by the direction the country's going in and motivated by the situation in my own life that provides me the opportunity and to do this, and so here I am.
Now, if elected, what are some of the issues you will focus on in Congress?
Right now, the issue, although it ties to other issues, is jobs and the economy. Right now, the economy is a mess. There are too many unemployed individuals, and it is tied tightly with the ridiculous tax rates, talks of tax increase, the size of government, and the deficit we have. I think they're all intertwined. They're all having a cause and effect, which is why we're in a very deep recession, if not a depression.
Very, very heavy stuff right there. Now, you kind of just jumped right into it. What is the most important issue addressed by voters you have spoken with?
Jobs. Jobs in the economy. You know, we look at. I'm a taxpayer myself, and you know this is another reason why I'm motivated. I am not, as an active member of the Mass GOP and the great work you've done, and we certainly appreciate it. You know, I'm not a guy who has been active certainly in the Mass GOP, although I've always been a contributor and voted as often as I can, but. The direction that the country is going in, the direction the country is going in is what is motivating me to really get involved here. And the voters themselves are exactly the same way. When I talk to people, they are very, very frustrated by the lack of control that government has, the size of it, the spending, and the lack of consideration for constituents. This is, we're out there, we're all struggling, we're trying to make ends meet, and there's somebody that's got their hand in our pockets, and they just keep reaching in deeper and deeper.
Now, some may find it a surprise that you have gotten on the ballot. The primary, some would also consider it was a shocker, those who have kind of been heavily involved in the Republican Party. Why don't you explain how you got into the race and what led up to the primary?
Well, how I got into the race was I had a desire, and I worked aggressively for the Scott Brown campaign. I did everything from distributing signs. I distributed a tremendous amount of signs, knocked on a lot of doors, did a lot of calling at the center before people were out there doing that. That's how I got involved. I think I'm the only one who wasn't surprised that I won. I was definitely surprised by the margin. Keith Lepore, who I met on the campaign, and we worked hard together, collecting signatures together. I don't know if Keith ever mentioned that to you. We often stood shoulder to shoulder, and we would give each other a nod when we knew somebody would sign the Republican ballot to get us on there. And we felt people should have a choice. But Keith did a great job in energizing the Mass GOP, and I sort of felt that was his territory and that was his domain, and we let him do that while we instead went door to door, stood on a lot of street corners, picked up a lot of phones. I made thousands of calls myself off of caller lists to independents and Republicans, talking about why I was running and what I want to do. And I really believed that when the day came to it, that was going to be an advantage for me. And as I've indicated in the past, when it gets down to the unknowns, I have to thank my mom for naming me Vernon McKinley Harrison. It's an interesting name, and in itself a bit of an icon, that attracts attention.
First thing I said when I saw your middle name after knowing your first and last name, I said, he could be president someday. Just the name itself.
You know, I've made this claim. In fact, I made it at the GOP barbecue, in that I am not choosing to make politics a career. I'm motivated to get off the couch because I think that we need people like the constituents in Washington, and I've claimed over and over that I am not presidential material. And unfortunately, neither is our president.
Now, as you mentioned, the GOP barbecue, recently you and Keith were both in town back in September for the East Bridgewater Republican Town Committee barbecue. And many people said, speaking with many people also, they said, what a classy race between you and Keith Lepore. Why did you, in what has become a tough political arena of sorts, how do you feel that affected where you are today as the Republican nominee for Congress?
You know, first off, keep in mind that I'm a resident of the 9th District, and I'm running to give people a choice. Steve Lynch has run unopposed too long, and when I looked at Keith Lepore, quite frankly, had I not been running, he was somebody I could get behind and support. And I think Keith would indicate the same thing about me. I think we were both disappointed that we were running. But I think that we need people like both of us. And I hope that Keith continues to seek office, and because I think he could be a great leader. I just hope he would. Keith, if you get a chance, can you pick another race that I'm not in? That would be great. But I think that that's the kind of respect and that we have, because we both are in it because we care about the 9th District. And so I saw no value in pointing out the minimal differences between us. Instead, would hope that the voters would look at the two of us and say, okay, who can win here? We need somebody that can win. And if on primary day, you know, the public had chosen Keith Lepore, that's who I would be supporting. It would be very easy for me. You know, so.
Very good. Now, why don't we jump back to the slate of questions we have. Have you served or been elected to any position before?
No. I have not. I have not attempted to, too. So, in fact, I'm batting 1,000 for elections, and on November 3rd, I hope to say the same thing, that I've won every election I've been in. I have, however, kept myself politically informed. I'm an avid reader, a big fan of talk radio. I love cable news. I certainly have a favorite channel because of my political leanings, but I pay attention to all of it. And again, I truly believe that because of things like the internet and the stronghold that mainstream media is losing, I think even a format like this, Miles, has so much more importance and value and significance than it's had in the past. People will have the opportunity to view this session on their own time through the internet, and I think that we are in a time, in this millennium, we are changing the way people are going to get to see the candidates. And so it's much more open, and hopefully with that in mind, we'll get many more candidates like the constituents into Washington and in all the leadership positions.
Now, let's talk about the current job you're aiming for,
yes.
Congress. Looking at the current Congress right now, how would you grade the job that Pelosi's Congress has done?
The last 2 years have been a disaster. I mean, honestly, and you know, and I don't want to sound bipartisan, because I believe I'm the kind of guy who would rather look at the issue and not vote down party lines, or maybe keep a vote that's going to get me reelected. But I think the last couple of years have been disastrous. But that said, I don't think it's fair to exclude Congress for some time. I think the problem now is the system, the way it exists. And again, going back to the media and how people have availability to information, we are now getting off the, well, there's nothing we can do, to, wait a minute, I'm not going to tolerate that anymore. I think that too often our leaders, both in Congress and in the White House and on party lines, their behavior is too self-serving. They're not thinking about all of the constituents in the district, and that we're going through a change, and that it is going to change. And this particular Congress has been a nightmare. They have spent more money on stimulus than the two wars have cost. They've voted for corporate welfare. It's just a wrong direction for the country. Now,
I asked your opponent the same question. If you had to grade the current Congress, what would it be? Tough
Well, not tough. Well, you give a thing. I want to give a thought-out answer. It's certainly not within my sound bites, but I have to say a D. And I gave him a D for showing up, but making a lot of bad decisions. I think it's okay to make mistakes. That's what's going to happen. We have to have the courage to make decisions. We have to also have the courage to recognize when some of those decisions aren't working. Even Congressman Lynch, he was in here and he indicated that the stimulus package didn't work, but then he indicated, but we should do some more, maybe more focused on infrastructure building, publicly funded union jobs. I mean, we need to stop making the mistakes we're making, certainly in the short term.
Let's talk quickly about your opponent. If you had to give Mr. Lynch a grade on his service as congressman here in the 9th District, what would it be and why?
I'll avoid the grade because I for him personally, because like Steve, I don't believe in the personal politic attacks. But I will say this, that he's one of the reasons why I'm running. And the fact that he votes 97.8% of the time with Nancy Pelosi causes me to scratch my head when when he's referred to as a moderate Democrat or a conservative Democrat even. He has been funded by much special interests. And I do think that Steve has done a great job in getting around the district and spending time in the district over a lot of traditional congressmen. But at the end of the day, I think that we don't need to look too hard on his votes, not his personality, as to where he stands. Very
good. Let's get maybe one more question in before we take a quick break. Now, what are some of the issues you see to differ with the current congressman right now?
Well, I think we can start with health care. Steve Lynch voted for it before he voted against it. And we've heard mixed things as to he wants a single-payer system. I was a member of his, I was on his town hall committees, and I got to tell you, that might have been the straw that got me out of my chair. So, and there was a petition in the House that he could have gone down a sign that would have stopped it. I think that the Obama health care bill needs to be repealed. I think that we do need to address health care and the cost of health care, but I think there are so many ways that we can go in incremental steps before we create a huge layer of bureaucracy, turn our health care over to the government, and now, even though we were told in the beginning, for those of you who bought it, that it wasn't going to cost anything, it was going to, in fact, save money, we now know it's going to cost us trillions, So I would say that Steve can say what he wants on about where he stands on the bill, but I will tell you, with me, I will absolutely stand against Obamacare. I believe in tort reform, more affordable health educations. There's just so many things that we can do. I think we need to find paths to affordable health care for those who want it but cannot afford it. And I think those are just some of the things that we can address that would absolutely improve the cost of health care without turning it over to the government.
So if elected on November 2nd, would you repeal the health care bill?
If given the opportunity, I'd repeal it today.
Very good. We're going to take a quick public service announcement break here on Greater Bridgewater. I am your host, Miles Heeger, joined by candidate for Congress here in the 9th Congressional District, Vernon Harrison. So we'll be right back.